When you look at chain bars, you look down the hill, you're thinking, you can't do laps in that pool because no one was. You know, it was a splash pool. It was where you could go, you could play mermaids, you could certainly cool off, and you could stay there, and you were entitled to be there. This is the luxury of a bar. I certainly included the chain bars in my PhD because they're one of the very early colonial ocean pools created in New South Wales. Down in the Illawarra, the 1830s, women are still a small minority group, and, you know, they have their own ocean pool, and that's pretty generous by standards, English or Irish standards at that time. This was partly because women were considered to need more privacy than men for bathing. So men were bathing on the more public rock platforms nearer the town. Women went to the other side of the harbour to a far more private place for their bathing. One of the reasons for gender segregation was that the men were convinced that, you know, the skin was the perfect covering and there was no great need to wear clothing. Swimming costumes were not a commonplace item of clothing. So people are wearing either as little as possible or something they don't care about getting wet. You get occasional references to women doing their ablutions down at the pool, so, you know, which implies, well, you know, a bath and the purposes of cleanliness. Personally, I think it's always been far more recreational. There weren't many sort of public places where respectable women could go. You know, the pubs weren't for them. So this was quite a special women's place. You know, it was obviously somewhere you could go and you could take the children. Considered a big plus for the women of the community, and it was also a visitor attraction that was considered of necessary importance to the sort of watering place that Wollongong wanted to be. Wollongong wanted to be the Brighton of New South Wales. It wanted to attract tourists. And this ocean pool was part of that promotion. And they were urging the smoke-dried citizens of Sydney to take ship to the Illawarra because a season of bathing at the Wollongong ladies' bars would impart a roseate hue of health and cherry lips. In the 1840s, they'd had a bit more improvement to the pool. Certainly there's convict labour contributed to the development of that pool because Governor Gipps had to give permission for the convicts to work on it. And that meant those convicts were not working on harbour improvements. So again, that's showing you how important that pool was considered. There was a lot of trouble about privacy issues from people, you know, going up to the cliff to have a look down at whoever was splashing around in the pool. You get these stories about women wanting to go to swim at the ladies' bars, having to take a maid with them to stay up there and make sure that no one was looking at them from the cliff above. The access is terrible. We look at it, we're thinking, don't fancy walking down this in other than good shoes with good soles. And they did it in those long dresses, and you've got to realise how important it was for them to get there. But if you can get to a place where you can splash around in the water on a hot day and not wear your corset, well, that's a big incentive to go, isn't it? And wonderful ones where they actually had the chains down at the pool. And I think that's lovely because, you know, at this stage, people don't have many swimming skills. And they talk about this ocean pool as offering delicacy, comfort and safety to the most fastidious and timid women because they're not in a position to rescue each other.